How's it going, everyone? So if you didn't catch it, on stream, I wanted to share some recordings from a webcam match that I did with a buddy of mine, who graciously offered up his time to help me practice my Reiju into Sakazuki. So to be clear, like this is kind of me learning the match as we play. So if you're kind of looking for a guide on how to beat Sakazuki as a Reiju, this is not it. But if you want to kind of see my thought process and see the mistakes I made and maybe think through other alternative plays, this might be helpful for you. So wanted to kind of share my experience here. I'm going first, and he won the dice roll. He made me go first. I mulligans. I did not get the stage, and so my first play was to play Kaya. Just trying to find better things. Thankfully, I was able to get rid of two of the larger bodies, the Ichiji and the Niji. So if I have the cards in my opening hand that allow me to pull those, I can do those. So he cycles his Ice Age. Plays 2, has the Brainer on curve. So he has the Hina, the Houndblaze, and the Lucci. He takes the Houndblades, puts Lucci and Hina in his trash, which means they are now good targets for a Moria if he sees one. We are now at 3 Dawn. And I do finally see the stage. And so immediately I use the stage, pitching a 4-drop Ichiji. I think I didn't have a lot of good candidates, so I kind of had to guess and hope that I drew another piece of a combo. Or I likely had multiple Ichijis there. And then so I drew the Niji, which means I can't play that. Next turn, though, because I have 2 Dawn. And then I just go 7. Clearly do not have either of the Reiju combos. And he takes that early life. So not a super great start for me. I mean, it's good that I get the stage finally on the 3 Dawn turn, but not able to put together like an aggressive board in the early game here. It's always nice to kind of start out with like an Niji on your 3 Dawn turn or something like that. And that is my phone, and you can see Hudson right there. That is what he looks like IRL. So if my YouTube and Twitch icon looks familiar, it's because it's based off him. And you'll kind of see me messing with my mouse a lot during this because I was streaming and I was trying to get the audio and like the music to play right, and it's just like it was a mess. That was my first time streaming webcam matches with like my music and stuff like that, so it wasn't going super well. It was also super late. It's like 10 p.m. we were playing these matches, so maybe some obvious misplays there. Okay, he swings 5k. I take that first life. I honestly can't remember what was in my hand at this point, but I think I just was looking for other things to play. Because I clearly didn't have like the combos built in. So he plays the Borsellino. I think I mean if I remember correctly, I should just play the Ichiji for 3 here because I have the 5-drop in there, and the Borsellino is a great target to bring back to hand. He has no on-play value from it. I pick up the Black Bug when I pitch the Reiju off stage. So now I have Reiju, Ichiji, and Niji all in state or all in my trash. Any of them are valid candidates. Yep, and I do exactly that. So I take my Niji and I play it, bouncing the Borsellino back to hand, drawing a card, and then swinging 5 at life. And then for 2 Dawn, I think I play the Reiju. Yep. Which allows me to kind of put 2 things on the board and also replenish my hand. So 5 in hand, and I'm able to draw 2 more. So overall, a really good turn for me. Bouncing back, I think you'll kind of see through this match and the second match that I show that bouncing characters with Niji is really important, like which ones you do and which ones you don't do, because you'll kind of see me make some mistakes with that in later turns. But overall, like a really good turn for me. Getting rid of the Borsellino is probably the best thing you can get rid of. He gets no value from playing it, no on-play effect, and putting it back in hand just gives him a 1k counter. And so I was able to swing for 5, play 2 bodies, and then draw 3 cards this turn. I did have to go down 2 Dawn, and that is always a risk, especially since you do want to see Judge here in this matchup. I've learned. Just kind of trying to organize my trash a little bit so it's a little clearer for me and probably for him. But I do only have, I believe, the Ichiji at this point. Everything else is the unevolved version. All right. So he picks up 4 Dawn, plays the Rebecca. Lots of candidates in trash for him to grab. Ends up grabbing the Hina, -4 on the Niji. Hound blazes it. It's an 8K swing. Puts in, or sorry, 3K on the brand new, so 5K with lead. I give him a Reiju, 6K with the brand new. I give him a Kaya. I think the one nice thing about Reiju is if you have, because of your ability to draw and because of character Reiju, you're kind of okay countering out of a lot of swings. You run 10 2Ks, so you're likely to see more if you use them, and you're likely to draw more cards with those Reiju. So that's another Reiju in our trash. So I believe we have 2 in trash, and then we have the one on the board. And then we get the Sora, so we can pull back a baby version of any of the characters if we need to, because we have 1 of each in trash. So with 5 Dawn, I do have a couple of options. The first one is, the first thing I do is I play the Ichiji, get the adult version, which lets me draw a card. And I think I actually forget to do it on this one. Someone told me later on that I forgot to throw the card here, which does look like that happened. So I put so I'm kind of down a card I should have had. I put the -5 on the Hina, which kind of gives me a free KO on it with the 5K swing, which is pretty good value. 5 with the Reiju. He gives me a 1K, and then I'm just kind of confirming what's in my trash. 7 with the Ichiji, so he is down to 2 life now. Has, I'm guessing, like probably 6 or 7 cards in hand, like a pretty sustainable hand. And then I actually end up playing the Sora here, pitching a 4-drop and then taking the Reiju back to my hand. I'm not sure exactly why I did that move. I think based on what my hand was at the time, I probably didn't have any other combos to play. So Reiju was the only thing I could pull, and I was looking for more cards. So I was hoping that with the additional draw, I could, replenish my hand, get the other pieces that I was looking for, and then start to go for game. I also likely didn't expect him to remove my 7-drop here. And so I thought I was kind of safe to just get another Reiju and keep replenishing resources that way. But in hindsight, probably a bad play. And apologies, I was like testing audio, so I was like switching back and forth. So switched over to the other scene for a second and then back here, trying to figure out why my Spotify wasn't working. He opens with a 5K at Reiju, I believe. I give him a queen. Puts the minus on Ichiji, so he is at 6. For 4 plays the Rebecca, pulls back the Hida. So having the second Rebecca was really big for him here for sure. And then Ichiji is now a 2, which puts it in Hound Blaze territory. I left the brand new up, which in retrospect probably was also a mistake because he does get value from it. But if he was going to Hound Blaze, but instead he does Luch here, so killing the Sora and the Ichiji. Or he ends up killing, yeah, he wasn't sure. And we discussed it ends up not really mattering because neither of those cards will ever be brought back from the trash. So either one is fine. He puts 3 on the bottom of his deck. The Ice Sage, I believe he saw Great Eruption there and something else. And now I am getting ready for my next turn. So I don't think I had the Judge in my hand. And I'm just kind of like fiddling with my settings once more. Very unfocused on this match, evidently, which proves to be a big problem for me. He has a 5 in hand. So his hand's not super aggressive. His board is, 2 attackers is bad. The double Rebecca's is not a problem for my offense, but could be a problem if I was going for game. First thing I do is the Reiju, so I'm trying to get more cards in my hand. I believe I have 4 Dawn on top of that. And then I use the stage. I drop a stage to pick up a 2K Sora. So getting those 2Ks back, even though I did use one earlier and it was likely not the move. And then for 4-Don, I black bug the Lucci to the bottom of the deck. Really good for me because that is a 6K attack that I do not have to deal with. And he also cannot pull that back with a Moria, which is really, really good. And then I start 5K with the Reiju that was played last turn or 2 turns ago. He ends up giving me a Rebecca here and then another 5K, which I believe he just counters out of. Yeah, gives me 2K. And just checking the trash here. So we have a Reiju in there. I think we saw a 7-drop potentially. So overall, I mean, pretty close game so far. I'm still at 3 life, which is really good for me. He has 2 real threats, maybe 3 if he can buff the brand new on the board. But he is at his 10-Don turn, and I am, I believe, still sitting on, I think I just went down to 5, so I'll be at 7 next turn, so I cannot judge. So I have been overusing my abilities a bit on this in this match. Might probably too reliant on the combo pieces, not trying hard enough to get to the judge. First thing he does is he searches with his brand new, grabs the 7-drop Borsellino, putting a Borsellino and I think Tashigi in the trash. Swings 5 with his Hina. I believe this is into the Reiju. He's trying to clear my board a bit here. I give him a Niji unevolved. Then 6 into the same Reiju, minusing the other Reiju. And 7-Don up. I counter out, knowing that the Borsellino is coming, and so I will be losing one of these characters. And he Borsellino's bottom decking my Reiju. All right, so now it is my turn. We are at 7-Don, I believe. I think we're gonna count it out here. Yep, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7-Don. Okay, so we cannot judge, but we do have some options. And if I recall, I also make a very risky play here. I think I assume I have the 5-cost Niji in my trash, which I don't. And so I make a very risky play here. Kind of thinking through. So with 7-Don, you could double play like Niji Ichiji. You could play, I think I had a Reiju, I could just play flat. So I started off with a 5K swing. I don't remember if it was at Hina or at life. He's thinking through his options here. He takes it. So now he's at 1, which is good for me. 5K again. I believe he counters here. Yeah, and I look through and then I think I immediately forget that there is no Niji in there because I do end up playing it and then having to search for it. I luckily do get it, but it was not in my hand. So I think first thing I do is trash something. So trash the 2K, which again, aggressive trash. I like really searching for the combo pieces, and I think the lesson from this turn is not to be so reliant on those combo pieces. So I search for it. I do get it. Start with 3, -1, trash it, play it from hand. Believe I put the Rebecca back in hand. No, the Hina. The Hina back in hand, just kind of reducing the number of attacks. Draw 1. And then for 4, play the Reiju, draw 2 more. and pass there. So now I'm remembering what's happening in this game. I had, I think, like a pretty ricky hand of like 4 cards, like maybe like 1K in it. I played the Reiju and I drew another judge and another Germa event, like or like a stage or something. But I think I've had maybe 6 cards and only 1K or 2K counter total in between them, which really informs how this turn goes. The one card I had in my hand, I believe, was an Ichiji, uninvolved, and I was really hoping to use him in the next turn to go for game. So I don't counter out of some attacks that I probably should have because of that. So the first thing is a brand new. He gets the Virgo, which is of course a Navy card. And then for 3, he plays the Hina flat. Realizes he was playing it over the brand new that could attack, and switches it to the brand new that he just played so that he can still get attacks out of those brand news. He has 5 Dawn left. So with 2 Dawn, so with 5, he does a 5K swing, and I should have countered out of this, knowing that he'd still had 5 Dawn. I give him the Reiju. I think I only had 1K counter in my hand at this point, and out of like 6 cards, so it was very, very unfortunate hand. Clearly, I thought that if I trashed the Sora, I would draw a card and then draw 2 more with Reiju so that I would get the counter back, and I did not get it back. And that really, really informed how this turn went. So he brings the Niji down with I actually missed what he just did there. Wait, I think he Ice Aged? I might have missed it. I wasn't looking. But he does bring it down. Or sorry, that I think it was brought down when he played the Hina. And then he did a 5K swing, which I took. And I think I had 6K, or sorry, I had 2 1Ks at that point, and then he did a 7K, which I also had to take. And then he did an 8K, which I also had to take. So because I took the 5K that I was like reluctant to counter out with my only counter for the 5K, I ended up taking a bunch more hits. And that was like my huge misplay this one. So I really do think I had a shot at this game, but I just threw at the very end because I had a bad hand and I was reluctant to get rid of the Ichiji, knowing that like I would probably need the rush. But had I just countered out of that 1K, he would have spent a second attack in the Reiju, and the whole turn would have been a little better for me. I would have had 1 life probably here, which would have given me a little bit more kind of leeway this turn. Anyway, first thing I do is play the Germa event. I get a Reiju. Sorry, not the Germa event. I play this. I use the stage. I trash the Germa event, get a Reiju. Just kind of like looking for options. I think at this point I realize very quickly that I just have to go for game. I believe, should have 8 down this turn. I was planning to judge, but because of how poorly things went on the previous turn, the judge is no longer an option. So first thing I do is I play the HG for 3, -1, and I believe I bring the Rebecca to hand, which lets me potentially go for game with 5 Dawn. So he only has, I guess he has 5 cards in hand now. I know he used a lot of counters. I know I think I knew he had the Virgo at this point. So I mean, this entire line of play doesn't make any sense, really. I was thrown off by going from 3 life to 0. And I think I was just very thrown from having like no cards in my hand. So I just misplayed very, very hard at the end of this game. But it's important to watch the misplays because the misplays teach you what not to do in the future. And this was like my first time doing some like dedicated practice against Sakazuki with Reiju. And so this was really, really very helpful in just helping me just in paper having to think through these decisions and react to them and then react to good circumstances and bad. And then I swing 8K. And of course, he does have the Virgo we knew he had. which I'm only now realizing I knew he had. And then the rest of his hand was the Rebecca. It looks like a brand new one out of the Rebecca. So he had a good amount of counter in that hand, and we just had no options. We really just, I think, we're assumed too much that we would keep some of those bodies. Like we started the board with 2 Reijus and an EG, and so I thought that more bodies would stick around, which definitely would have made a difference. I don't know if it would have won me the game to have the Niji swing, for example, but it would have absolutely made a difference. So that was game 1. Why don't we pause here? I'm going to transition us over to game 2, where he lets me go second and we play it back that way. All right. Game 2 here, I am going second. He's going first. He does have the Tashigi turn 1, which we were kind of talking about how this is such a huge win for Sakazuki, because forcing them to go first was very good in OP05. They only had the brand new to play, and so changing that up now with the Tashigi makes a huge difference for the deck, and obviously just another searcher that is really, really useful for them. So finds is that a Hina? I think it was a Hina off of his first turn, and then passes to me. First trashes his Borsellino and then passes to me. So now we know that he can pull that with a Moria. It's good to know. For 2 Dawn, draw a card. First thing we do is we do have the stage this time in our opening hand, which is really, really good. And we trash. I think we're thinking through what our trash options are. So we start with the stage, trashing a ETG, the 7-drop adult version, pulling a 4-drop Reiju, double checking that order. You never know. You might get to the bottom deck. It's possible. It's not likely, but it's possible. You're looking at 3 cards every turn, plus you're drawing 1, so that's 4 cards. And then if you play the event, it's 5. So it's possible you look through 9 cards in 1 turn. So the order does matter a little bit. I pick that up and then I pass my turn. I do not have the event to play. And sorry, the play is a little slow. Like we were, this is during a stream. We were chatting. We were, discussing the anime, discussing different plays. So I definitely recommend checking out the VOD if you want to hear our full conversation. And there's a third match here that I'm not going to share just because I think it's a little repetitive at that point. But I wanted to share the first 2, one when I was going first and one where I was going second, just so people can kind of see what that matchup sometimes looks like. So he is at 3 Dawn. He trashes his Hina, so now he has both of those in the trash, which are both really, really good pulls for Rebecca and for Moria. Starts the 5k swing. I counter with the Reiju that I just picked up, and 5k with the Tashigi, and I counter out with the 5-drop Niji. So now I have Niji, Reiju, and Ichiji all in the trash, so I have a lot of combo plays I could pull off if I see any of those characters. Start off with the stage, put another Niji in the trash, and then I think I pull. Okay, I pulled the 4-drop, so I can play the 4-drop here. And pull out the 7-drop, which is a really, really good early pull against Sakazuki. They have to commit pretty aggressively to remove that. It's either like a Hina swing and a Houndblaze, or it's an Ice Age and a Houndblaze. So 7 Dawn is like a good thing to use. They obviously cannot get those events back, so if they have to use an Ice Age or something, that's really, really good. If they play a Hina, it's not as good because obviously Hina is really easy for them to get back, but Houndblaze is not. So if it gets a Houndblaze out, it gets a Houndblaze out. I leave the Shigi on board. I go 5k and 7k. He takes 2 life there. So would be a really good time to putting. I don't think I have one. I don't have one. So not ideal, but if I had a putting in hand, would be great because we know he searched the card with Shigi and then just picked up 2 from his life and is going to draw another one. So like, I believe he has 8 cards in hand. First thing we see is a 5K -1 on the Ichiji. I always have to like take a mental pause and remember which one is which. I do give him the baby Reiju. So still at 4 life, which is really good for me. For 3, plays the Hina, -4, so that is at 2 now. And then my not taking just a 1 5K swing into the Tashigi comes to bite me in the ass, and I get Hound Blazed, and the Tashigi gets a 5K swing. So that's a lesson that I learned from these matches, and I think something I just kind of forgot from OP05, or just didn't think Reiju needed to do as much because you had the Ichiji and the Niji and like other ways to kind of remove things pretty easily. But you should still always take those free 5K swings into the Tashigis and the brand news because they do get buffed very easily by Houndblaze. So another Houndblaze comes down. Obviously, that is bottom decked, so I cannot pull that again. I use stage, so pitch stage to use stage, and I pull another Niji. So now I have 3 in the trash, or rather 2 in the trash, 1 in my hand, and I have 5 down. So in hindsight, I think playing the Niji here flat would have been a good move, but because I could have swung to Tashigi, I could have removed the Hina and then kind of established a body that he would have to play Hina again to kind of, and Houndblaze again to remove. Or maybe like a Lucci. So I think that would have been good. It would have kept my Dawn higher, but instead I do play the Reiju, which allows me to draw 2 cards. And rather 3 cards because I get 2 from Reiju and then 1 from my leader Reiju. And I'm deciding where to swing here. I think I ultimately do swing into the Tashigi, or at least I hope I do. I might be tempted by his 2 life to go at face. Just kind of reviewing my trash here. Yeah, I think we took a little conversation break to discuss some options here. I likely do have the 3 Dawn for Aniji as well, but going down double in 1 turn is probably not favorable, and I think I do it, which might be a big mistake. But I swing 5 into the Tashigi, finally removing it, and then do exactly that. So 3, -1, pull out the 1 from the trash rather than using the 1 in my hand, which is smart because I can counter with that 1. And now I have 2 bodies. He has no bodies, but I did go -2 Dawn this turn, which puts me back at 5 next turn. Reviewing this for the first time myself, I think the better play was swing 5K into Tashigi, play the Niji. Outcome is more or less the same, but you have 1 less body, and I have fewer cards in hand because I didn't minus Dawn and I didn't Reiju. But it puts me at 7 Dawn next turn, which is a big difference. Big difference. Yeah, I think this has been very helpful for me watching this because I'm seeing the mistakes in my own play that I just didn't catch while I was doing the playing live. And I think that's always really helpful. So, big recommendation that if you have the opportunity to do webcam matches with friends, record them and really review them later. I think it's a super helpful habit, and it's always good to watch videos of other players. If you're learning Reiju like I still am, I think sometimes watching these misplays is more helpful than watching professionals play because the lines of play seem very obvious when they're always making the right choice. But when you kind of see mistakes happen, I think you can avoid mistakes when you see them happening. And so learn from my failures here because clearly some of my decisions were suboptimal and I'm not always setting myself up for a huge success here. Anyways, that was a tangent because we are clearly having a conversational break here between. I think we spent some time talking about different lines of play. Towards after the first match, we got a little more casual in terms of talking about different options while we were still playing. But we didn't want to reveal too much information, and then we also just we're kind of making conversation about One Piece in general. And so, all right, back to the game. He uses Dawn for Greater Eruption. I believe that's on the Niji. No, yes, Niji. Oh no, right, the Reiju. Okay, another Greater Eruption. I believe this one's on. Oh no, this is an Ice Age. Sorry, he put the Greater Eruption trash. So now that is 1 or 0 rather, and 6K lead. I give him a 2K. And for 4, he plays the Lucci, which makes sense. So, I mean, if you think back to my last turn, he could have done the same play. Maybe stands like a Great Eruption or an Ice Age. So he could have Great Eruption, swung with leader 7k, and then play Lucci. And I would have been in the same spot, but now I'm actually out 2 Dawn and I'm out both bodies. So it's like I definitely misplayed by going down 2 Dawn in that turn. I think my biggest pitfall with Reiju right now is that I just overuse the combos. It's really, really satisfying to play those characters for less Dawn and then swing aggressively, but it puts you at a disadvantage in future turns when you have 5 Dawn and your opponent has like 10, especially against Sakazuki, who gets so much value for every single Dawn. So lesson learned there. I immediately swing 7k, trying to put pressure on him because he is at 2 life. I see victory is in my sight. He gives me a brand new and a Virgo. Counters out there. And then here is where I start, I think, to make mistakes. I'm like, okay, he played the Lucci, he played Great Eruption, he played Ice Age. I can give him the Lucci back, and then he only has 1 swing next turn. I am still at 3 life, so I'm like, okay, with 1 swing a turn, this makes a lot of sense to bounce the Lucci back. And I don't know where I stand on this anymore. I think it may be a mistake to bounce Lucci's back, even if you can, because it just gives them the ability to cycle them out with their ability and then play them with Moria, or to just replay them again as a hard cast. But let me know in the comments like what you think on that. I feel like in some ways it does make sense because now he only has 1 swing this turn, which is huge advantage for me. But he has Lucci again, which is less of an advantage. You could just kind of ignore the Luccis and just let them stay on the board, but it does mean that you're taking more hits every single turn, and as a 4 life leader, that feels kind of bad. So I don't know that was the right play, but it was the play I made. And then immediately he swings 6 and puts my DG down to 4. I think that he just played. Yep, and then he just plays Borsalino. So overall, I mean, my last turn ended up being kind of okay because if I didn't do what I did, I would have taken a probably either 2 6Ks or a 5K and a 7K, which would have been worse. And then the Borsalino would be on the board too. So I trash a Niji, pull in Ichiji. I should have 6 Dawn here. I think I was at 5 -1, so I should have 6. Which means I could do 2 7Ks if I have the 7 drop in my trash. I actually didn't catch if it was in there. I believe it was. Yep, and that is what I go for. So 7K with lead. He does give me another 1K and a 2K, so he does have a lot of counter in his hand and a lot of removal. So which is normal for Sakazuki, but he's definitely not as bricky as he was in OP05, it feels like. Especially with the Tashigi, which helps him find more cards and more 2Ks. I do 1 more 7K. And now he is at 1 life. I have a pretty sizable hand. I actually don't remember if I drew there. I believe I drew. But if I didn't, again, nothing misplayed. No, your opponent's never going to tell you to draw. So if you don't remember to do it, you are just hurting yourself. So he's at 10 Dawn now. He's at 1 life. I am once again trying to fix Spotify. It is not working. And I'm back. Okay. He for 1 Dawn. I think he's thinking through his turn. Doing the math. See, so that Lucci, I gave it to him, and now he just trashes it, which means he can potentially play it off of Moria here. So kind of the downside, like I don't know what the right answer was. It feels like in hindsight not the best move, but had I left that Lucci on the board, it would have been swinging at me every single turn, and that's just really rough for me. Like anything I played would have been removed, and then I would also be taking damage from Lucci. So I don't know. Please, like, genuinely let me know in the comments if you have an answer on like what to do with Lucci's and if you should be balancing them back to hand, because I don't know and I would like to know. So great eruption again on the HEG. So a lot of resources in his hand. Brings it down to a 5. Still has 9 Dawn. So he's thinking through the math here. He was asking me, like, does 5, 8 make more sense, or sorry, 5, 9 or 6, 8? And my thinking was 6, 8 makes more sense here, because if I'm gonna counter out of the first swing anyways, might as well make it a 2K. So -1 more on the ETG. So he is a 4 cost and then 8K into life. I take that one. I'm at 2 life now, which is still a pretty healthy point against Sakazuki at this point. But we do see the Moria come down. And of course, the Lucci that I gave him is back. And with the Suru bringing down the ETG to 2, the Lucci gets to bop it. And I am at, I believe, I think I was at, yeah, I'm at 7. So once again, I'm probably overused my abilities, because now I cannot play Judge this turn, which I think would be a very good Judge turn since I'm at 2 life. I don't recall if I had Judge in my hand at the time. So first thing I did was look for I think I was looking for the EGG to play it again. I do get a Reiju. I mean, being able to swing 7, 8 here is pretty good, but I likely will lose on crackback, and so instead I play the Niji, draw a card, put the Lucci back in his hand once again, trying to slow down these attacks that are going to come at me next turn, because I'm going to take a swing from the Borsellino, the Moria, and the Sakazuki leader. So the Lucci would have guaranteed that I lost on crackback for sure. So I'm happy with my decision on that one, because I lost next turn if I didn't do that, and I don't think I had the rush Niji to play. So I did a 5K. And then for 4, I'm playing the Reiju, hard casting it, not through some combo, and I draw 2. Just flash that I had only 5 cards. And I believe I did not get a lot of counter out of those 2. I'm not sure. So I'm facing down the barrel of a Sakazuki swing, a Borsellino swing, and a Moria swing. I have 2 life. A good amount of cards in hand, but I think depending on what a Sakazuki player has in their hand, they likely wouldn't go for this. They would just try to remove my board and then just like play a bunch of blockers and whittle me down like to 1 or 2 life. If they could clear my board, they would do that over going for game here. But I believe he starts going for game, which is honestly rare for Sakazuki players. I could be wrong though. We played a couple matches, so I don't remember which one this is. He's thinking through the numbers. I have a lot of cards in my hand. I think I have 7 cards in my hand. Okay, first thing he does is 6K at life. So not fully going for game here. I have to counter out of this one. Otherwise, he's just going to put everything on his Moria and his Borsellino. So I give him 2 1Ks. I think I did have a 2K in my hand, but I didn't want to tell him. I wanted to maybe hold onto it for a bit. And then he does an 8K, 9K. So clearly not enough counter to get out of those. I believe I was planning to play Judge, maybe, but obviously not an option anymore. Or I was planning to use maybe an HG if I had one. The lines of play are pretty limited at this point. You kind of have to go for game. But double Suru into Rebecca. So Niji is I believe 3, and yep, that brings. Oh no, Niji's 2, and then that brings my Reiju to 0, and then the Lucci once more. So again, like if I left the Lucci on board, I think I lost because that is a much more comfortable position to start going for game with. But because I gave him the Lucci, I also lost because he got a Rebecca into a Hina and then played the Lucci to clear my entire board. So yeah, the judge is no longer an option. Get rid of the judge. I think I actually had 2 in my hand, so this might have been another game where I had a very bricky hand. I do have the 4-drop, and this entire turn is just like one big misplay. He has 3 cards in hand. I have 9 Dawn. So really, all I can do is maybe. I think the only thing I realized I could do is bounce the Rebecca back to hand, swing with leader, and then swing with the Ichichi. But there's just not enough dot to do that effectively. It'd have to be like a 6K and an 8K or like a 7/7, and it just doesn't work. So the math doesn't work out. I end up scooping shortly after this turn, and he does. I think he has like 2 Branos. Yeah, he ends up having like 2 Branos in his hand, so he could have gotten out of the 6K swing. But overall, yeah, there's really no way out of this. Not with only 1 attack on board. I needed kind of one of those bodies to survive to make the whole plan worth it. But yeah, overall, not going to happen. A very close game though, with only 3 cards in hand, 1 life, and 1 blocker on board. If I had more Dawn, or if I was able to, keep something on board a little longer, there was definitely a chance here. But overall, did not get it, and he gets this game as well. Yeah, I mean, a couple lessons learned here. I think I need to really think about when my judge turn is and how much Dawn I'm using, bringing back to the Dawn deck, and kind of hard cast some of my bodies a little more to make sure that judge is feasible. And definitely need to think about when I'm bouncing back to his hand and what that enables, especially as Sakazuki can trash things too. So maybe bouncing a Lucci on their 4 Dawn turn is fine, but doing it on their 6 Dawn turn into their 8 Dawn turn is not fine. So this is where I don't have enough Dawn to do any of this really, is I have to play Sora to get the pieces to do this plan. So yeah, I -1. Yeah, and then I'm just kind of going through the math in my head. It's just not enough. I can go 6K, and then I can go like 7K or 8K, but it's just not enough. So yeah, he gets the game, and with 2 1Ks in his hand, the first one would not go through because I'm also putting another 1K in his hand with the Rebecca. And then his last life was a Tashigi, so another 1K. So yeah, definitely needed another attack there to get through, or just more Dawn. Either way, this was really, really fun. Thank you again for the matches, and I will post some Yamato matches that we did as well. But overall, really excited to just practice a little more with Reiju, and hope this was interesting and helpful to learn from the mistakes that I was making as I'm kind of continuing on this journey of learning a new deck and trying to get really good with it. All right. Thanks, everyone. And please leave some comments if you have questions or if you have thoughts on how I can improve. And looking forward to hearing from you guys.